So, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the very first session of the program. Now friends, my question to all the audience member is, why do we teach? Anybody? Ji? Anyone who would have? Baithe baithe bolo.
We teach in order to make the students aware about the facts.
Okay, one answer I am getting is to make the students aware of the content. Okay. Any other response from the audience?
We are sharing what we have learned.
Okay, you are sharing what you have learned.
And what I believe is that तो ज्ञान का दान.
Gyan, okay.
Madam, we teach to impart knowledge.
We teach to impart knowledge. Okay, any other answer to this? Any other answer to the question? Why do we teach? Any other center would like to respond to this question? Yes? Anybody from the other centers at Karnataka? Yes? Can I request JSS Polytechnic?
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಡಿಬಲ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಮೇಡಮ್.
To make the students to be employable in future.
Okay, to make the students enter into the future. Okay. Any other response to this? I go and I state that we teach because we want the students to learn. Because it is the student who is the center of attention as far as the education system is concerned, and we want him to learn things. And it is rightly said, if there is no learning, that means no teaching has taken place. How many of you agree with me? Obviously, you need to agree to me that if there is no learning on the part of the student, we can say the teacher has not taught. And whenever a student is joining any educational system, he is joining the system with certain set of knowledge, skills and attitudes which he has acquired for a period of 15 to 16 years. And after 12, the student is coming to the degree level, or after 10th, the student is coming to the diploma level institution. And in the institution, if you see, he is going out from the system with enhanced knowledge, skills and attitude. And what these knowledge, skills and actually attitudes are, they are nothing but the learning that has taken place. And the teacher needs to understand what is it that I want to achieve through instruction. What is going to be the end result of my instruction? If that is clear to the teacher, then teacher is in a better position to select instructional strategies and instructional media. Take an example. You all might have heard the story of Alice in the Wonderland. So when Alice was lost in the jungle, she met a cat and she asked, which way should I take? The cat asked, where do you want to go? Alice said, I do not know. The cat replied, any way will do. If I do not know where I want to reach, I can take any path. But if I say I'm sitting in Chandigarh in sector 26 and I want to go to the bus stop in sector 17, then I can select the route to bus stand in sector 17. So this analogy can be applied to education, that teacher when going to the class teaching a particular topic need to know what will be the end result of that teaching, and then he or she can select the appropriate path. So my next question to the audience is, these are nothing but learning outcomes. How would you like to explain the term learning outcomes? Yes, the audience member? What do we understand by this term learning outcome? Maybe I go to Government Engineering College, Haveri. Any response to the question?
Learning outcomes.
Question is, what do you understand by the term
Learning outcomes.
Learning objectives.
Can you please explain?
Mic on. Madam,
Auntie, please go ahead.
learning objectives.
Learning objectives. So please explain, what do we understand by learning objectives?
ಏನಾದ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ?
Now, when we are going in for accreditation, each institution is required to write the course outcomes. And they are also in terms of the learning outcome. So what do you understand by this term learning outcome? Anybody from ST Government Polytechnic Bangalore? अरे भाई, आवाज क्यों नहीं जा रही है? हाँ जी, BVSS Polytechnic Bagalkot. Can I get a response? Or maybe the audience from Knitter Studio?
Hello. From Psychomotor here. Hello. Am I audible, madam?
Thank you so much. Yes, please go ahead, sir. BVSS. जी sir, please बोलिए. हाँ जी, hello, I am able to listen to you.
Yeah, it's the behavior change that we observe in a student.
Okay. Now, when you say the behavioral change, that is exactly the learning. But when we say the learning outcome, very rightly, one of the participants here said, this is the statement what a student is able to do at the end of unit of instruction. Say, for example, I have picked up a topic which is on engine. Now, I am teaching the concept of engine. I am teaching the types of engine. I am teaching the working of engine. So, at the end of unit of instruction, what is it that my student is able to do? And for example, I'm just giving you some of the examples of learning outcomes. If you're teaching the definition of efficiency, what do you expect? You expect that a student is able to define efficiency, or the student is able to define programming if you have taught that definition to the student. And when you have taught the types of engine, that is diesel and petrol engine, then a student is able to either distinguish between the diesel and the petrol engine, or the student is able to compare diesel engine with the petrol engine. Or if we know that in civil engineering, when dealing with the foundation, we say there are two types of foundations, deep foundation and a shallow foundation. Then a student, if he has learned these two concepts, then he is able to differentiate between the deep foundation and the shallow foundation. Or in computer science, if you have taught this, what do we understand by the term stack and array? Then a student is able to differentiate between stack and array. Or a student who has written a program in C++ can identify the mistake which he has made in writing of the program in C++. Or design a staircase. A civil engineer can design a staircase for 3-story residential building, or design an engine for a given sports utility vehicle of given specification. Now here you can see that I have stated this, these are all statements. And you can see, can you tell me among all these statements, what is the commonality? What is the commonality? What is common among these statements?
Defining, differentiating,
Okay.
identifying.
Okay, so all these statements are starting with action verb. They are hinging upon a specific behavior which you would like to observe among your students, that at the end of unit of instruction, a student is able to either
Right, right.
define, differentiate, compare, analyze, write, identify, design, and so on. All these are action verbs which are very, very specific. Then all these outcomes have been stated in terms of student behavior. You are not saying that I want to create awareness among the student. I want my students to learn this. I am going to share my knowledge. These are teachers' objectives. But when we talk in terms of learning outcomes, they are always stated in terms of student behavior. Another thing is that all these outcomes are observable. Anything which is observable is measurable. Now, when I say define efficiency, there is a standard definition of efficiency. The response given by the student can be compared with the standard definition of efficiency. And on the basis of this, I can say whether the student is right or wrong, or whether the student is partially right. So depending upon the response, I can assign marks to my student. Say if the definition is of 2 marks, I can say whether to give him 2 if he is perfectly correct. If he is partially correct, I can give 1 mark or 1.5 mark. If he is incorrect, maybe he is not liable to get any mark out of 2. So the behavior which is specific is observable, at the same time is measurable. Another characteristic of learning outcome is all these outcomes are time framed. When I say these are time framed, it means we can achieve these outcomes within a specified period of time. So learning outcomes are characterized by SMART. They are SMART. S for specificity, A, they are achievable, R for M stands for measurable, A stands for achievable, R stands for realistic, T stands for time frame, right? Now, what are the things we learn? Whenever we study a particular discipline, particular subject, we learn factual information. When you say there are 2 types of foundation, or you say 3 important parts of computer are the monitor, the keyboard, and the CPU. This is a factual information. Or you say this is lathe machine, this is public address system, this is a camera, this is a vernier caliper, this is oscilloscope. All these are nothing but labels. So as a part of the study, a student learns factual information and labels, and he can organize this information. So one category of learning is verbal information. The second is that we do learn number of concepts. Anybody who can give me few example of the concepts you learn in your discipline? Yes, the audience member. Over to Government Engineering College, Haveri. Ji, can you give me examples of concepts you learn as a part of your discipline? No reply? Okay. So would you like to reply? If there is no response from Haveri, can I move to Bangalore, Government Polytechnic, Bangalore? Give me examples of the concepts you learn in your own discipline. Over to Mysore. अन्ना टाइम तेरे को लगे कि बैठे ना हाँ जी Mysore देखो Mysore if they are able to give me reply. Okay, can you give me examples of concepts either from civil, electrical, electronics or computers, or maybe from management? Care Mangalam University.
Concept behind the generation of electricity.
Concept behind the generation. Ma'am, generation itself is a concept. Electricity itself is a concept. When you say velocity is a concept, force is a concept, acceleration is a concept, semiconductors is a concept, stack is, when you say stack is a concept, array is a concept, engine is a concept, and so on. So, in a particular discipline, whether it is civil, electrical, mechanical, or management, and so on, a large number of concepts are learned by the students. Then we learn principles. What is a principle?
This is actual something factual. Like 1 plus 1 is 2.
Okay, it's a rule. Okay, but scientific principles are universally applicable, not otherwise. So when you say for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, or you say current is directly proportional to voltage, when you say stress is directly proportional to strain, all these are nothing but examples of principles. And any principle is indicating a relationship between two or more than two concepts. When I say voltage is directly proportional to current, V is directly proportional to I, voltage is a concept, current is a concept, proportionality is a concept. When I say stress is directly proportional to strain, stress is concept, proportional is concept, strain is a concept. When I say second law of Newton's law, for third law, for every action, every is a concept, action is a concept, reaction is a concept, opposite is a concept. So principal learning is nothing but based upon the learning of concepts. If you have the basic concepts, the rule learning becomes easy. Then as a part of the studies, a student also acquire number of technical skills. Whatever you carry on in the laboratories and the workshop leads to acquisition of psychomotor skills. That means either a person is able to verify a learned rule, or he is able to process something, he is able to do the processing of an job. Maybe he is able to cut a metallic piece from the given piece of his given specification, or he is able to drill a hole in the wall of a given specification. So a person acquires psychomotor skills. Then the person acquires large number of attitudes. Now a student who's coming to us, we are not only adding to their technical knowledge and skill, but at the same time, we are trying to modify their attitudes. Say, obey the safety rules in laboratories. Obey the rules of the institute. Work in teams for the project work. Share their resources and expertise with other team members. We expect that our students will be able to show respect for the elders. We expect that they'll be honest, so exhibit honesty, integrity. All these are nothing but examples of attitudes and behavior. Now kindly have a look at the next slide. There is a question for the audience. Below are enlisted a few things you learn or have learned. Please indicate the process you use to learn these things. Go through the list, write down against each the process you use to learn these things. Name of a machine, symbol of hydrogen, value of pi. लिखो भाई, क्या process use किया था to learn these things? Open up your file covers. Definition of force, advantages and disadvantages of metals and non-metals, names of various parts of computer, statement of rules. Katie is connected. Okay. I think I have only 2 minutes to give to the audience. Identify the process you use to learn these things. Over to Government Engineering College, Hassan. Can I get a response from the audience? Hassan. Yes. Anybody who would like to reply to the question? Which process you use to learn these things? Let me make it more simplified. If you have to learn my name, PK Tulsi, which process would you use? No response. Yes? Any? ये भाई मेरी आवाज ही क्यों सुना रहे हो? हाँ जी, over to Government Engineering College, Hassan. Sir, कोई response तो आना चाहिए. Is the mic available to you or not?
ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನೋಡಿ ಮೈಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸಿ.
Hanji, JSS Polytechnic, Mysore, do you have an answer to this question?
Using models, man.
Yeah?
Models. Using models.
Using modules. Model. No, I'm not talking about strategy. The process, the mental process you used.
Principles.
No,
Because the
By
definition
principles.
of the mission is
no.
Definition.
definition.
आपने definition. Just listen to my question. If I have to learn a definition, what process, the mental process I use to learn the definition?
Hello. Hello.
Huh?
We are from CV Raman College. Hello. Hello.
आपने सुनने से ये सीख लिया या कुछ और किया? ओके, रिपीट करने की कोशिश की. So in most of these cases, rote memorization comes into play. If I have to remember the symbol of hydrogen is H2, there is nothing which I need to understand. I have to use the process of rote memorization. If a particular machine is called lathe, there is no reasoning why this machine is called lathe. So I use the process of remembering or rote memorization, and whenever it is needed, I recall that information and reproduce that information. So it is true whether it is a
ঠিক আছে তো। ଠିକ ଅଛି। ତାଙ୍କର କଟି ଯାଇଛି କିଛି ହେବାର ନାହିଁ। ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ଆସୁଛି ଦେଖୁନ। ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ଆସୁଛି ତମେ ବୁଢୀ କଟି ଯାଇଛି। ଭଲ ତାଙ୍କର
So I'm sorry, because of the power failure we couldn't remain connected. So if we look at the list, it is only the process of remembering which has been used to learn all this. So one of the processes used by the learner is remembering. Next, have a look at this. The derivation, if you have to carry out, you have to write a chemical equation. You need to write a chemical reaction. You need to explain the concepts such as triangle, force, stack, array, efficiency, etc. Or you need to write the procedure for writing a program, or you write a précis of a given paragraph, or you need to interpret a graph. Now you tell me which process, mental process, you use to learn these things. How these are different from the first list. पहली लिस्ट आपने कैसे सीखी थी? Remembering. So what is needed here? Understanding. So that means when I ask somebody to simply define, he can rote memorize, reproduce the definition. But when I say explain the concept of triangle, the person needs to give definition, explain the triangle in his own words. He needs to give one or two examples of a triangle. So the person requires the process of understanding to learn the concepts. And if he has to explain certain procedure, he needs to understand the various steps, and then only he can write the procedure in his own words. Likewise, when the person has to derive relationship between two concepts, or the person has to write the equations, it is the understanding which comes into play. So another process which is used is understanding, and understanding means we learn concepts, we learn procedures through understanding, right? Or we have to prepare summaries, we learn through understanding. Go to the third list. When would you say a person has learned a rule? I have just jotted down few examples of rules: Newton's law of motion, Young's law, Charles' law, Joule's law, laws of thermodynamics, rule of differentiation, rule of integration. When would you say that a person has understood the laws of thermodynamics? When the person would be able to apply, not explain. Say for example, I'm a student of science and there is a live wire. I touch that live wire. You will say, oh, you are not a student of science. You do not understand this is a live wire. So that means when a person has learned certain rule, unless and until he applies those rules in day-to-day life or the world of work, we don't say that he has learned the rules. So rule learning takes place when the person uses the process of applying. Fine. So next level of learning outcomes is at the level of applying. Then identify the capabilities needed to do the following. Now here you see identifying causes for failure of a given lathe machine, explain the reason of cracks in a given building, locate the fault in a program written in C++. Now tell me, calculate the transmission losses in a given locality. Yes, tell me which capability is required to do the following.
Analysis.
Fine. Analyzing. You are absolutely right, ma'am, when you say that if you have to analyze the causes, identify the causes of failure, it is the capability which is referred to as analysis or analyzing. Ability is required on the part of the individual. Or when there is a program written in C++, I have to identify the mistake made by the writer. I need to analyze. So analyzing. Now go to one, design a carburetor. Design a component. Which level of capability is required? क्या डिजाइन करने के लिए क्या चाहिए आपको कैपेबिलिटी? क्यों रे भाई ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ? Now when I say भाई की कर रहे हो ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ? When I say design a staircase, then I must have a thorough knowledge of the background concepts, the fundamental principles. I need to apply that knowledge and synthesize that knowledge, and I need to evaluate if I have to design a staircase for 3-story building, then I must try to find out which particular design would be more appropriate. So I should have the ability of selecting, and this means I need to have the ability to analyze, evaluate, and create. And create. So it combined together, this is what is referred to as the problem solving ability. So if you have to carry out these tasks, ability to analyze, ability to evaluate, and ability to create. These are the 3 things which are required. Now, why I have raised these questions? The learning outcomes can be written at 6 different levels. Bloom was the first one who gave the classification of instructional objectives in cognitive domain. And he first gave us the classification that you can write learning outcomes at the knowledge level, at the comprehension level, at the application level, analysis level, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, all these are nouns. Krathwohl and Anderson, they have given a revised taxonomy, and they have converted into the verbs, referring to the processes used by the people to learn different things. And these can be written at 6 levels: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Let me give you few examples of learning outcomes at the remembering level. Now, when you say define force, define training, it requires remembering. When you say state the second law of thermodynamics, my student might not have understood what the second law of thermodynamics is, but he is able to reproduce the second law of thermodynamics. It is nothing but remembering. When you say state advantages and disadvantages of 4G over 3G, again, if I am mugged up, I can reproduce all these advantages and disadvantages. Label the parts of lathe machine. So that means you are identifying the various parts of the lathe machine. So you require remembering the names of various parts of the lathe machine. Name 2 types of soil foundation. Again, enlist or name, this is one and the same thing. Write the formula for calculating shear force. I need to remember, okay, the area of a rectangle, I remember length into breadth. I need not understand what is length, what is breadth, but I say area of rectangle is equal to length into breadth. Again is remembering. Then identify switch from the given objects. So if so many articles are given, he is able to pick up the switch. That means he is able to identify. Again, because he knows this particular object is referred to as switch. Enlist the chemical properties of the given material. Again is remembering. So you can see when the learning outcomes are written by using specific action verbs like define, state, name, identify, label, state, all these are the verbs which can be used to write learning outcomes at remembering level. Now let me give you few examples of writing learning outcomes at understanding level. Now here you can see, explain the concept of a software. Explain the process of communication. So one verb is explain. Differentiate between digital and analog communication. So another verb comes as a differentiate or distinguish or compare. Then you see, give examples of array. So who can give me example of array? Who has understood the concept of array? Interpret the relationship between stress and strain from a given graphical representation. So if a graph is given, the person can interpret the relationship between two variables. That is where comes the role of understanding. Project population of India in 2020 on the basis of given data. So when the person is able to extrapolate, again this requires understanding. So the verbs which can be used to write learning outcomes at the understanding level include explain, differentiate, compare, give examples, interpret, derive the relationship, write the equation. This requires understanding. Now let's see what are the verbs which can be used at the applying level. Calculate the cost of carpeting the room, leaving 2 foot from each side given the length, breadth of the room and cost of carpeting per square foot. So calculate. Now here the difference is, you are not asking the person to calculate the area of the room. It requires application of more than one formula. Then calculate a transmission losses in given locality. So how to calculate the transmission losses? If the person has understood rule, the formula, he is able to apply that in a given situation. Calculate the force the wall will exert on hand given the force exerted by hand on the wall. मैं force exert कर रही हूँ, wall कितनी force exert करेगी? So it's a simple, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So rule gets applied. So applying. Demonstrate the principle of inertia of movement. So when I am traveling in a bus, I keep my face in the direction in which the bus is moving. I am applying the rule inertia of movement. So rule learning is evident when you are able to apply. So you can see calculate, determine, find out, demonstrate. ये सब क्या है? These are the verbs which can be used to write learning outcomes at the applying level. Then analyzing, evaluating and creating combined together is referred to as problem solving. So you can use the words identify causes for failure of a machine. This is analyzing. Locate a fault in the given circuit diagram. Analyzing. Locate mistake in the given algorithm is an example of analyzing. Evaluate the effectiveness of communication system in a given organization. This is evaluating. Evaluate or design a carburetor, design a component of a machine, design an organizational structure for achieving specified objectives, write a program in C++, create local area network. These are all learning outcomes at the creating level. Creating. So analyzing, evaluating, creating, combined together, these are referred to as problem solving. So learning outcomes can be written at 6 different levels: remembering level, understanding level, applying level, analyzing level, evaluating level, and the highest level is creating level. Then we learn skills. Skill learning takes place through 5 stages. That is imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation, and naturalization. First of all, if it is a complex skill, somebody needs to demonstrate that skill to me. I only copy that skill. This is the stage which is referred to as imitation. Then comes manipulation. Manipulation means the individual is allowed to handle the machinery and equipment on his own. When initially a person handles the machinery and equipment, what do you think is the level of accuracy? What is the level of accuracy? Low. He makes or she makes number of mistakes. And this is true if you have an example of car driving. A person is demonstrating, you only copy. But when you are given the car and you are asked to drive, then you commit number of mistakes. आपसे तो gear ही change नहीं होता. आपसे brake apply नहीं होती when it is needed. And you accelerate when the person asks you to de-accelerate. वो कहता है लेफ्ट घुमाओ, आप राइट घुमा देते हो, राइट कहते हो तो लेफ्ट घुमा देते हो. These are kinds of mistakes which are made by the novice. And precision comes in when lot of practice is done by the person. So precision comes with practice, and precision comes in different acts. आपको चाबी लगानी तो आ गई, आपको एक्सेलरेट डी-एक्सेलरेट करना आ गया, आपको गियर चेंज करना आ गया, लेकिन you are not able to coordinate the various acts. Coordination comes again with practice. तो आप क्या करते हो, जैसे जैसे प्रैक्टिस बढ़ती चली जाती है, you are able to coordinate the various acts. And a stage comes when the skill becomes a habit. That stage is referred to as the stage of naturalization. You can now drive the car, you can talk to the person sitting next to you, you can listen to the music which is playing in the car, you can keep track of what is happening on the road, you also observe the traffic lights and you follow those rules. So you are able to coordinate the various movements, you are able to modify, adapt your driving according to the weather condition, according to the road condition. This is the highest level of learning a skill. So when I say skill, some of the examples here you can see psychomotor domain. When I say verify Bernoulli's equation, that means the person has to set the experiment, make certain observation, and then he is able to verify the Bernoulli's equation. Verify Ohm's law would again require setting up of the experiment, providing the input, recording the output, then drawing the graph, and then interpreting the relationship. Determine friction loss in flow through pipe. This is another example of experiment which is conducted. Calibrate orifice meter and calculate CD, CV and CE. Calibrate venturi meter. I think off is not required here. Calibrate venturi meter. Determine discharge coefficient of V notch. So if you have to determine the discharge coefficient, again it is a psychomotor skill, or you are asked to operate a lathe machine, it is an example of skill learning, or you are asked to drill a hole in the wall, or you are asked to make a lap joint. These are all examples of skill learning. Another thing which we learn are the attitudes, values, and behavior. So affective domain. So third category of learning outcomes is affective domain learning outcomes. And here, how the attitudes are developed. As a child, you have been getting do's and don'ts from your parents. They have been telling you, don't do this, do this. Always speak truth. Be honest. Be polite. Respect the elder. They have been telling you. And they have also been telling you don'ts. Don't talk to stranger. Don't be late. Get up early in the morning. Sleep at early at night. Get up early in the morning. All these don'ts and do's. A child receives all the do's and don'ts without questioning these do's and don'ts. वो कोई सवाल नहीं करता. But a stage comes when the child asks, why shouldn't I talk to stranger? Why should I always speak the truth? Why should I be polite with everyone? So why? He start responding. He start questioning some of these things and he start accepting some of these things. Then he starts valuing. When he accepts, he observes, he values those things. Maybe he values time, he values money, he values friendship, he values honesty. But the question is, if at any stage he has to choose from two things, from friend and honesty. Here comes the question of priority. Each one of us accord priority to various values which we have. Maybe a person remains honest. If he remains honest, the friend goes to the jail. If he is giving more value to the friendship, then he has to speak a lie. So here comes the question of prioritization, and each one of us has different prioritization. Maybe you give more value to truth, I may give more value to the friendship. You give more value to the time, I give more value to the honesty. So value prioritization is referred to as organization. Now tell me, when I say non-violence, what do you, who is remembered? किसकी याद आती है? Non-violence. Okay, why only Mahatma Gandhi? Are we all violent? He was the epitome of that. He never compromised on the value of non-violence. When I say the social service, again Mother Teresa name comes at the top because she was the epitome of social work. She never compromised on that and she sacrificed everything for social cause. And here, very few of us reach at this particular stage in life. We all are only at the valuing stage. We change our value system according to the conditions, according to the context. We have put mukhote pehne hote hain na? So we have mukhote on our faces and we change our value system as and when it is required. But what the industry is looking for a graduate who has certain values, who value the time, who value the teamwork, who value the resources, who value the money, and so on, who value the work. So the values need to be imbibed among our students. Let's have a look at some of the examples of, say here, the affective domain. Obey rules. or maybe obey the institute rules. That is what we expect our students to do. Observe safety precautions in the laboratory. This is what we expect our students. Attend classes regularly. Maintain punctuality. Cooperates with others. When the work is given in group or when there is teamwork, they cooperate with others. Exhibit honesty. Respect others. These are some of the examples of learning outcomes at the in the affective domain. So as a teacher, we are not doing anything extra to develop learning outcomes in the affective domain, but while we are teaching in the class, we are dealing with students in the laboratory and the workshop, we also try to develop learning or achieve learning outcomes in affective domain. So achievement of learning objectives in cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain, they go hand in hand. As a teacher, when I become a role model, I'm able to develop some of the affective domain learning outcomes among my student. I remain punctual for a class. My student remains punctual. I'm honest with my students. They also imbibe the value of honesty. I try to respect their individuality. They in turn give respect to others. I become a human model for my students. And if we have to achieve all this, we need to use different strategies, instructional strategies. Any center has any question at this stage? Do we have any question for the speaker? Okay. Okay. So, friends, we all know that learning outcomes fall in three categories or three domains. That is cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain. So, different instructional strategies need to be used to achieve these learning outcomes. And here, first I would like to differentiate between a strategy, method, and tactics. Anybody who can clarify these three terms: strategy, method, and tactics. Who would like to throw light on these three terms? Can I get a response from KR Mangalam University? कोई बैठे हैं जी? हाँ जी. So KR Mangalam University. What do we understand? I'll come back to you, sir. Ma'am, go ahead. की कर दे हो? हाँ जी. सर आप सिस्टम के पास आके बोलेंगे तो ज्यादा अच्छा होगा, बिकॉज योर ऑडियो इज नॉट क्लियर. एक्सटर्नल माइक आप लोग बंद कर सकते हैं. यूज द इनबिल्ट माइक.
Study is a comprehensive plan which is applied.
Okay. Okay. And what is the method?
Method is simply a study at different levels.
Okay. And what is tactics?
Tactics is a very short-term approach which is applied in methods.
Okay. Okay. You are right partially. Thank you so much. Over to the center which wanted to give the answer. Any some center wanted to interact. Go ahead. Some other center wanted to give a reply to strategy, method, and tactics. हाँ जी. जी sir.
Strategy means planning something for a particular work. Method is the good way of doing the work.
Okay.
Technique is better technique is to be selected for a particular work. Technique not getting the.
Okay.
We
Fine.
need some method, we need some practice.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's have a quick look at. That means system which the teacher uses to plan and direct broader aspects of facilitating learning. They are referred to as strategy. And this term has been taken from the military science where the word strategy has been used. And it is rightly said by two of the participants is the broad plan, the approach which is used. Now here when I say the approach used may be teacher centered, student or learner centered, or a teacher can use a mixed approach. That means when I say teacher centered, all the decisions, what to teach, how to evaluate, when to teach, they are taken by the teacher himself or herself. When I say student centered, then student is more active than the teacher and he or she tries to decide about what to learn, when to learn, how to learn. When we say it's a mixed strategy, that means both teacher and student, they are equally active in deciding what to teach or what to learn, how to learn and when to learn. Or you can say the broad approach could be expository, guided discovery or discovery. Now when I say expository, it simply means that I am giving all the detailed information to my students. That is what we do in lecture method. We are using expository approach. Or you have a manual which is written, which is giving step by step orderly steps, and the student follows those steps to do the experiment. This is expository approach. Then what is guided discovery? Guided discovery is that you allow the student to explore and experiment, but under your guidance. You give hints, you give clues, you guide wherever it is necessary. Then comes discovery approach. That means you allow the learner to immerse in the environment and experiment. So teacher is not providing the guidance, so it is entirely the student who is exploring and experimenting with things, objects, chemical materials and so on, and coming out with certain results. So approach, strategy refers to the broad approach. Then what is a method? Rightly said, method is arrangement or procedures for facilitating learning in practice. That is when we refer to lecture method, we say group discussion method, we say case study, we say demonstration, we say project work. All these are methods and they have certain procedures which need to be followed. Then what is tactics? I raised this issue. What is tactics? Tactics means how the instructional strategy and methods are put into action. मैं भी लेक्चर देती हूँ, आप भी लेक्चर देते हैं, आप भी देते हैं. But if you try to compare the three individuals, each one of us has a very unique style of using the lecture method. So this uniqueness which comes with an individual is referred to as tactics. How a particular method or a strategy is put into action by an individual is referred to as tactics. Clear हुआ? Strategy, method and tactics. Now here you have a look at the slide. Large group methods of instruction. Now this is expository approach which is used. And lecture method is one which can be used by the teacher, and our classrooms are dominated by this particular method. But this method is not suitable for developing higher level abilities of ability to analyze, ability to evaluate, ability to create. Because here the student is only listening. At the most, he is trying to answer few questions raised by the teacher. But if you convert this lecture method into two-way interactive method, then you are trying to achieve some of the learning outcomes at the higher ability level. Then you have large number of small group methods of instruction, which can be applied with student intake of less than 15. Or you can divide the large class into small groups, maybe 3 to 4, 6 to 8 or 10 to 15 depending upon the size of your class. And you can use group discussions, panel discussions, demonstration, tutorials, seminar, brainstorming, case study, role play, project work, problem-based learning, cooperative learning, simulation and games. So you have all these methods which try to involve the learners actively in the process of learning. The student is more active. The student is either made to think, discuss, or the student is made to do certain things. When you give a project, he is applying the learned knowledge and skills to solve a problem. When you involve the person in discussion, he is made to think and participate in the discussion. So different methods have different characteristics and they have their own advantages and disadvantages. I'll not be going into details, but then you have certain methods which can be used for individualized instruction. You have project work, it can be given in groups, you can give the project work individually. You give the tutorial sheet into the individual member, you can use it in a group situation. You can use case studies in a group, you can use case studies in an individual setting. Then you have computer assisted instruction, or you have programmed instruction, or these days we have learning management systems, and you have Moodle 1 which provides you facility to create an environment where individual can learn at his own pace at the time convenient to that individual. This is an era. So a large number of methods are available to the teachers to choose from. So what is it that will determine which particular method to be used? क्या factor आप ध्यान में रखते हो when you select a particular instructional strategy to achieve the learning outcomes? बताओ. Number of student is one of the criteria. Your name please? Rakesh, thank you so much. Any other factor you take into account when you have to select a method? Over to, I think we'll go to Bangalore, Government Polytechnic, Bangalore. Would you like to respond to this question? If you have to select a particular method, what are the factors you take into account? Over to Bangalore. No reply. Are जी सर बोलिए.
It depends on number of students.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so one factor is the number of students. Any other thing?
It depends on theory or practice.
I would request, sir, audibility nahi hai. Please come closer to the computer. External mic mat use kijiye. If you can come closer to the system and speak, that will be fine.
Ma'am, subjective delivery?
Okay, the content. Very right. Any other?
Theory or practical.
Fine, ma'am, you are right. Any other factor you take into account? Okay, K.R. Mangalam University.
Yes,
Ji,
ma'am.
you would like to reply. किन चीजों का ध्यान रखेंगे when you are selecting a method?
Ma'am, the second one is level of learning. बच्चे किस टाइप के होंगे?
Level of learner. Okay, level of learner. Okay.
Basically, students' intelligence is grass initiator and what level is existing.
Fine.
In your studies,
Thank you so much. The nature of learners is an important factor to be taken into account. So friends, let's quickly see how we determine what method needs to be selected. This is TV Rao has given this, that when you have to select, you need to keep in mind, is your objective to give exposure to the new ideas? Then laboratory has a very high practicality. Laboratory, field, cases, industrial, seminars, these have high applicability. Simulation has a very low capability if you need to give exposure to new ideas. But if your objective is to make the student internalize the learning, then laboratory and individual methods of instruction have high value. And field, work, simulation and cases have high practicality. Seminar has a low practicality. And if you want that they should learn the jobs, the manageable parts of the job, then simulation is having high practicality. Field work, lab work, cases and individualized learning has a high capability. Seminar lectures have a low capability. If your purpose is to provide experience with respect to behavior, again laboratory, field exposure, simulation and cases. Seminar and lectures again have low applicability. If it is intensive learning, again lab, field, simulation. Now, if you want to develop learning to learn skills among your students, you see that lecture has a very low capability. And lab, field, and from this table, you can come to the conclusion that lectures do not suffice. They are not good for anything except for providing information to the learners. But this is what we do. So why not to shift to other methods which are more practicable, which develop the higher level abilities among our students. And whatever you have said, that is also true, that if you want to generate interaction, simulation is having very high practicality. Laboratory work, yes, where you have lot of interaction and involvement. Then cases and seminar, student is highly involved in that. If your purpose is to provide practice, then lab is one where you can provide lot of practice, or tutorials are one which can be used for providing practice to students. If your purpose is to give feedback, then you see field work, simulation and cases, they were high value. Lab is having very high level of value for providing feedback. And in case you want to increase the conceptual understanding of the learner, then you see lecture has high value, only creating understanding. And if you want to provide creative experience to your learners, again laboratory is having very high value. Very low value is there of the lectures, and field work, simulations and cases have a very high practicality. Now you can decide among yourself that when I am going to select the method, one thing I must be sure, what is the level of learning outcome? Is it only remembering? Is it only understanding? Is it applying? Is it evaluating? Or is it creating? So, according to the characteristics of the method, you can select the appropriate method. What is the level of involvement of the learner? So more you get into cases, project work, seminars, brainstorming, group discussion, demonstration, the interaction among the students, interaction between the teacher and student would be high. Another factor you need to take into account is the content matter you are dealing with. Is your content amenable to discussion? अगर आपने कॉन्सेप्ट ही पढ़ाने हैं तो उसमें आप डिस्कशन करा सकते हो, लेकिन आपकी अगर फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा उसमें डिस्कशन नहीं हो सकती. If there are procedures adopted and there is step by step procedure, तो डिस्कस क्या करना है? There is logical order of steps to be followed. डिस्कशन नहीं. लेकिन जहां पे फॉर एंड अगेंस्ट की बात हो सकती है, जहां पे प्रोज एंड कॉन्स की बात हो सकती है, डिस्कशन इज यूजफुल. यू कैन गो इन फॉर डिस्कशन. When we are talking in term of failure analysis, cases can be easily used in civil, mechanical, electrical. Now say there has been like a bridge in Calcutta which collapsed. You give a case and you ask the student to analyze the case. What went wrong? Why did the bridge collapsed? It becomes a full case. You have seen now, yesterday only there was one aeroplane which took off and then burnt. That can itself be a case, and you can ask the student to give you, identify the reason why the plane went into the, क्या बोलते हो आप? Flames, right? Or you are talking in terms of a machine working in an industry and there is a failure of the machine. Or you can take up a case where an industry has bagged the award winning prize of say $2 million. Now, how did that industry could win that award? You prepare a case and you ask the student to analyze and come out with the factors that led to winning of the award. A case. So cases can be used to develop the abilities of, yes, ability to analyze, ability to evaluate, and ability to solve problems. So if you allow the students to apply the learned rules to find solution to the problem, this becomes problem solving ability. So nature of the learner, very rightly said by one of the participants, that nature of the learner is also very important. Are your learners mature enough to get into discussion, to analyze the case? Do they have the required level of intelligence? Do they have the required level of aptitude to go to the lab and do the experimentation on their own that you allow them to discover? डिस्कवरी अप्रोच तो तभी यूज करोगे अगर वो मेच्योर बिहेवियर शो कर रहे हैं, उनके पास कुछ स्किल्स हैं विच दे कैन यूज इन द लैब. जिसको लैब एक्सपेरिमेंट सेटअप ही नहीं करना आता, उसको आप डिस्कवर क्या करने दोगे? सो यू नीड टू फाइंड आउट Are my students having the required level of intelligence, aptitude, interest, or level of motivation required to achieve the learning outcomes? That will help you to determine the appropriateness of the method. You also need to look into the time and resources available. Now, अगर आपके पास आप केस लिखते नहीं हो और केस आपके पास अवेलेबल नहीं है तो केस स्टडी यूज कैसे करोगे? Either procure the cases or you develop the cases. आपका टाइम, now you say only 50 minutes class is there. क्या मैं 50 मिनट की क्लास में केस दे सकती हूँ which require 1 hour of analysis? No, I can't give because case needs to be followed by the discussion in the class, presentation by the participants and then discussion. So can I give the case to the students to take home उनके लिए हो जाए? They do the analysis next day in the class, they make the presentation followed by the time which is available to you. उसको भी ध्यान में रखना है. आपकी क्लास में सिटिंग अरेंजमेंट कैसा है? कैन यू अलाउ द स्टूडेंट टू शिफ्ट इनटू स्मॉल ग्रुप्स, enter into small group discussion, make a presentation and then you have the class going on? तो क्या आपकी जो क्लास में अरेंजमेंट है that allow you to shift the arrangements? You have to look into that also. So बहुत सारी चीजों का ध्यान रख के you select the method of instruction. So likewise, the instructional media which is available to the teacher, that needs to be looked into. कहते हैं attention span of an individual is the maximum is 20 minutes. We can focus on one thing. If I don't change the modality, you will not be able to pay attention to that. And it has also been rightly said that we receive the information from the outside world through our senses. And sense क्या है? Sense of sight, sense of hearing, yes, sense of smell, sense of, yes, क्या है जी? Touch, taste, and balance. So all these 5 senses, मैंने 6 दिखाई हैं आपको, balance भी दिया है, and that is through the ear liquid. You can feel the difference in the, जो आपकी उतार चढ़ाव आ जाते हैं, you can find out. So all the 6 senses need to be utilized as far as learning is concerned. तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं अभी तक? हम क्या कर रहे हैं? सुन रहे हैं या ज्यादा से ज्यादा कुछ पावर पॉइंट देख लेते हैं, है ना? यही तो करते हैं. फिर बाकी सेंसेस को भी यूज करना है. And it has also been said that people remember 10% of what they have read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% what they hear and see, 70% of what they say and write, 90% of what they say and do. तो किस कंक्लूजन पे पहुंच रहे हो आप? Involve them, engage them so that they learn maximum. तो अब अगर ये maximum learn करना है, तो Bruner has given 3 levels of learning. He says, सबसे पहला लेवल क्या है? Annective experiences. That means provide direct experience to the learner. अब direct experience क्या है? Say for example, I have an apple in hand. I show it to the child. I say, this is an apple. This is direct experience. I take my student to the lab or workshop. I say, this is the lathe machine. I tell the person, this is oscilloscope. This is a router. This is a diode. This is a chip. I show the things and I tell the name of those machinery, equipment, etc. This is nothing but I am providing a direct experience to my student. So according to the Bruner, the first level of learning is through direct experiences. The more you provide the direct experience, the better will be the learning. अब देखिए, मैंने बच्चे को सेब दिखा दिया और बोल दिया ये सेब है. अब मैंने उसको पिक्चर लगा के दिखा दी. बच्चा कहता है, क्या बोलता है? सेब है. That is, the child takes a visual imagery. He has created an image of apple in his mind. He can relate the picture to his visual imagery. This is what is referred to as the second stage, called iconic. That is, pictorial experience can be provided. अब देखिए, अगर आपने लेथ दिखा दी उसको एक बार वर्कशॉप में, और फिर जब आप लेथ का वर्किंग प्रिंसिपल, लेथ की लेबलिंग ऑफ द वेरियस पार्ट्स, लेथ का वर्किंग ऑफ लेथ, अब जब थ्योरी में पढ़ा रहे हो, द स्टूडेंट हैज अ विजुअल इमेजरी ऑफ अ रियल लेथ इन हिज माइंड, so he can relate the pictorial representation with the actual lathe machine. Easy to understand. अब देखिए, थर्ड लेवल ऑफ लर्निंग क्या आ जाता है? अब आप सिर्फ कहते हो लेथ, ही इज एबल टू हैव द इमेज ऑफ लेथ. उसको आपको लेथ दिखाने के नहीं यूज जरूरत, अब आप लेथ बोलोगे तो वो समझ जाता है. सो learning proceeds from direct experience to pictorial representation, called iconic experiences. Then you can use the symbols, the words themselves, which are abstract. So learning कब maximum होती है? जब आप concrete से abstract की तरफ जाते हो. And whatever media is available, you can see here, at present, a teacher has again a variety of media. You have the printed materials. Printed material में क्या है आपकी? Books हैं, lab manuals हैं, instructional sheets हैं, rules है, syllabus है. ये सारा किसका पार्ट है? Printed material, reference books, journals, ये सब print material में आ जाते हैं. Then you have graphic material. ग्राफिक मटेरियल में आपके पास आ जाते हैं चार्ट्स, आ जाते हैं, है ना? चार्ट्स आ जाते हैं, और क्या आ जाते हैं? ग्राफ आ जाते हैं. ठीक है. देन यू हैव, आजकल कोई नहीं यूज करता ओवरहेड ट्रांसपेरेंसीज. आजकल अपने पास एलसीडी प्रोजेक्टर है, सो वी यूज पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन. देन यू हैव ऑडियो. आज भी, if you want your students to acquire the mastery or proficiency on a language, audio tapes are one of the best resource. आप audio tapes को use करिए if you want to develop the mastery over the language. Then you have slides and film strips. Again, these are now become obsolete because now we all have mobile phones. We can take an image. Wherever we go, we take image. Even we are into selfies. बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. So what we can do is, if we are going for a tour to industry, we can use our mobile phones to capture the images that can be used in the class, right? So motion pictures, again, we don't use motion pictures, but we use videos. We use videos which are available again in abundance, whether it is a YouTube, whether it is MIT site, whether it is NAPTEL site, whether it is NCTEL site. So we have large number of videos available from which we can choose. You have animated videos also available. Like there are large number of videos which animate the processes, which animate the principle, which animate the content of civil, mechanical, electrical, physics. So you can use those videos in classroom. Then you have computers. Computers are very flexible. You can use it for using the PowerPoints. You can use it as an internet. You can use it as sending emails, creating blogs. You can use computers for having a dashboard, having a e-chat with your students, and so on. You can create LMS. You can create CMS, classroom management system. Then you can use computers for uploading. वेबसाइट्स हैं, आप अपलोड कीजिए अपनी असाइनमेंट्स, अपनी पावर पॉइंट, अपने लेक्चर नोट्स फॉर द फैसिलिटी ऑफ द लर्नर. यू कैन यूज स्पेसिमेंस. स्पेसिमेन क्या होता है? मैं बोलती जा रही हूँ, स्पेसिमेन क्या होता है? फॉर्मेट, नमूना. It's a sample. It's a sample. So specimens can be used, and realia. Realia refers to the real things. There is no substitute for real things, real objects, real machinery. But wherever you cannot bring the real things into the classroom, you can use other. And if we move from printed material to realia, the degree of concreteness increases. If you move from realia to printed material, the degree of abstractness increases. And as said earlier, you can select different types of media based upon one factor is nature of learning outcomes. Now, for example, if you want to show the relationship, who stops you from using a graphic representation, from using an animation in the computer and showing it to your students? If you want to show the process, then you can use stepwise PowerPoint presentation where you show the first step, add the second one, add the third one, and progressive disclosure of the steps. If my purpose is learning is only that students should be able to define the concepts, lecture, and you don't need, you use PowerPoint, textual PowerPoint can be easily used. You can use a printed material if definitions are to be known by the student. So prepare one page, all the definitions of the terms are given on one page, circulate that among your students, they have the material, media which can be used. But if I want my students to simulate the real experiment, because they don't try it out in the real life, so they can use simulations where they can see. Now, for example, I have a beam. It can take a particular load, but I want to show that if you increase the load, the beam will break. अब मैं reality में तो नहीं show कर सकती. So why can't I use it in a simulated and I keep on increasing the load until the beam breaks? यही बोलते हैं. तो आप simulation जहाँ पे risk involved है, अब आप reality में जा नहीं सकते हो, you use the simulations and show them the effect of one variable on the other. Nature of learners. Are your learners familiar with that kind of media? अगर बच्चों को एनिमेशन और सिमुलेशन समझ ही नहीं आता है तो उसको यूज करके क्या करूंगी? I should use with which the students are familiar. ठीक है? Then nature of content matter. आपका content amenable है सिमुलेशन पे, एनिमेशन पे, या सिर्फ printed material यूज हो सकता है? So that you need to determine. Ease of planning and development. So does it involve huge resources? And it is difficult, it is time consuming to prepare. अब अगर मुझे वीडियो फिल्म बनानी है, it requires time. But आज मेरे पास easy है, मैं मोबाइल से वीडियो रिकॉर्ड कर सकती हूँ. I can edit it because the video editors are freely available to me as a teacher on the web. I can use that facility. So आप देखिए कि कितना easy है आपको. अगर वही आपने वीडियो मार्केट से बाय करनी है, it may cost you say 50,000 or 20,000, but आप खुद बना सकते हो उसको with less cost, right? So facilities and resources to utilize the media in the classroom. So do you have the LCD projector and the computer? Those are good enough to use a video film, and you don't need to darken the room also. So you can use that. So whether that kind of facility is available. Attributes of media. Attributes. अब देखिए realia. Real machine lathe को उठा के मैं क्लास में नहीं ला सकती. It is better to show a image of the lathe. ठीक बात है कि नहीं? हर चीज को मैं क्लास में नहीं ला सकती. आप इंडस्ट्री में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस यूज करना है तो वीडियो इज द बेस्ट. उसको स्टिल पिक्चर्स विल नॉट हेल्प. इफ यू कैन हैव अ वीडियो, वो एट्रीब्यूट मुझे हेल्प करेगा टू शो दैट प्रोसेस. ठीक है. सो आपकी एट्रीब्यूट्स ऑफ मीडिया इज अनदर फैक्टर विच हेल्प यू टू डिसाइड which particular media is to be used. Cost, I have already spoken. Teachers' proficiency in handling the media. This is very, very important. Many times we pick up a media, but we ourselves are not knowing how to use that media. क्लास में लेके आ तो को गई मैं, अब मुझे पेन ड्राइव भी लगानी नहीं आ रही है, उसको खोलना नहीं आ रहा है, उसको आगे कैसे चलेगा वो मुझे पता ही नहीं है. सो आई वांट समबडी एल्स टू ऑपरेट. और मैं कहती हूँ एक बंदा होना चाहिए जो कि हलाता ही जाए, आगे चलो आगे चलो आगे चलो, एंड यू वेस्ट लॉट ऑफ टाइम इन दैट. बिकॉज जब आप ऐसा करते हो तो फ्लो तो टूटता है कहीं पे आपका. सो प्रोफिशिएंसी, अगर मुझे वीडियो यूज करनी है, आई मस्ट नो वीडियो यूज कैसे करते हैं. Video, if you are using in the class, it starts with certain questions. It ends with the discussion on those questions. सिर्फ वीडियो दिखाने से पर्पस हल नहीं होता. So you need to have a set of questions before you screen a video. At the end, you must involve your learners in replying to those questions and enter into discussion. So learning outcomes becomes the basis for selection of instructional strategy as well as instructional media, and a teacher needs to select appropriate method and media, keeping in view the other variables, that is learners, the content, the facilities and resources, the cost, the time, etc. And then only you can ensure the achievement of learning outcomes. So friends, I stop here. Now if you have any question, you are welcome. So maybe I'll start with the audience sitting in Nitter ETV studio. Any questions if you have? तीनों है मैम. मैम है, अवेलेबल है. टेबल कौन सा नहीं है वो मैं पीपीटी दे दूंगी आपको. ठीक है. ओके, ओवर टू सीवी रमन इंस्टीट्यूट. डू वी हैव एनी क्वेश्चन मैम?
No, we don't have any questions, but we are grateful to you for this lecture.
Okay.
You have forced us to introspect what we are really teaching, how should we teach, and how should we deliver.
Thank you so much. Over to KR Mangalam University. Do we have any question? Hanji, any question from your side, ma'am?
Not yet, ma'am. It's clear.
Thank you so much. Over to JSS Polytechnic Mysore.
No questions.
Okay, thank you so much. BVSS Polytechnic Bagalkot. Do we have a question? Ji sir. Any question from your side? बोल दे नहीं. Is the audio clear with you, BSS Bagalkot? I'm not getting BVSS Polytechnic Bagalkot. Is there any question? आपका माइक काम कर रहा है कि नहीं? सर माइक ऑन कर लीजिए. नो क्वेश्चन? पता नहीं. SJ गवर्नमेंट पॉलिटेक्निक बैंगलोर. वो खाली. SJ Government Polytechnic, is there any question?
No questions.
Thank you so much. Government Engineering College, Haveri. बोलो जी.
Hello, madam.
Hello. Do you have?
No, madam, we don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. And Government Engineering College, Hassan. गवर्नमेंट इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज हसन। हाँ जी, कोई बोलिए। ए नहीं है, ए हावेरी है। हसन हसन। एक गेट एकेडमी भी है। सो गेट एकेडमी ओडिशा, डू यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन? जी सर। Sir, audio is not. Sir, we are not able to hear you. Mic off है आपका.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
हाँ जी, now you are audible, sir.
Madam, I have a question regarding three domains of learning. You said that cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, three kinds of domain are there. And my question is that where do you identify the role of intuition in learning? The role
Sir,
of intuition, madam.
Sir, when you talk in terms of intuition, it comes in cognitive as well as psychomotor domain both. When we are talking in terms of the use of creation, that is, you involve your students in designing something, generating alternate solutions to the problem, then the intuition of the student may come into play. Or when you allow the students to immerse in an environment, explore and experiment with, then intuition comes into play.
But madam, in rational kind of thinking, can we introduce intuition there? Because in case of scientific or rational thinking, we always do not consider intuition as a primary factor for learning.
Sir, but when we're talking in terms of creativity, role of intuition and imagination comes into play. And one of the purposes of teaching student is to make them develop creativity among them. So when we are using different techniques called brainstorming, analogies, metaphors, attribute listing, or add or delete, there comes in the role of your imagination and intuition. So whenever the person is allowed to create something new, novelty comes in, innovation comes in, role of intuition and imagination is more.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, friends. See you at 2 o'clock.